Hi, I'm Julia Roberts and my first book, 100 Lengths of the Pool, is out now. I decided to write the book kind of by mistake. I used to be involved in my fitness regime of swimming up and down the pool, 100 lengths of the pool of a house I used to own in Spain, which I found a little bit boring because it would take about 40 minutes. It was a 12-metre pool. So I used to think about different numbers in my life associated with each length of the pool that I swam, also to help me keep count so I didn't swim too many or too few lengths. And I did that regularly. And then suddenly in July 2011, I was swimming up and down and I had a light bulb moment and I thought, actually, this could be turned into a book. And I got out of the pool, I went indoors, I wrote the idea down, started to compile a list of chapters, and 2 months later I started writing the book. I wanted to donate money to Rotary International and their campaign End Polio Now, because I contracted polio as a 14-month-old baby, and it is chapter 14 in my book. I've been left with a permanent disability, if you like, of a weakened left side from the waist down, so I do walk with a little bit of a limp. I was looking into polio and the fact that you can, in fact, suffer from something called post-polio syndrome if you had polio as a youngster, and it can be 30, 40, 50 years after you had the original polio virus. And so I thought to myself, well, actually, I'll do this research. I looked up about post-polio syndrome, came across Rotary International and their campaign End Polio Now, and decided there and then that I wanted to be part of it and that I would donate money from the sales of the book to the charity to try and eradicate it forever. I was a baby when I had polio, so I don't remember too much about it. In fact, I remember nothing about the 5 months that I spent in hospital. When I came out of hospital on Christmas Eve 1957, I was wearing a caliper, and my parents were told that I would always have to wear the caliper. But my parents weren't prepared to accept that as a way of life for me, so I had regular physiotherapy at the hospital and daily physiotherapy with my mum. And from the age of 3, I was taught to swim, to strengthen my leg, and I went to dancing classes around about the same time, also to strengthen my leg. And by the time I got to 11 or 12 years old, I no longer had to have a raised heel on the shoes that I wore. I'd more or less taught myself to balance my shoulders, balance my hips, and there was only a very slight limp. However, as I've got older, when I'm tired, it can be quite pronounced, and people often during my lifetime have said to me, oh, have you hurt your leg? And I would always kind of fudge around the subject and say, oh yes, or oh yeah, I just knocked, I didn't tell the truth. And then about 5 years ago, I thought, why am I doing this? It's not my fault I got polio, and I should be pleased that I am a survivor of polio. So about 5 years ago, I started to tell people the real reason that I didn't walk quite the same way as they did. If this campaign is successful, it can be eradicated for good. I think what has to happen is that the countries involved where polio is still occurring on an annual basis, they have to get the vaccine and they have to stay polio free for 3 years. And then it will be considered that this is a disease of the past. The situation, I think, in India is that they've been polio free for 2 years, but there were still 205 cases of polio in the world last year. But compared with the 1950s when I contracted it, it's incredible that we've got to this stage, but it's just that final push that's needed, which is what the This Close campaign is all about. I love my job, I genuinely love my job at QVC. I love what I do, I love the contact with the viewers, I love the fact that nobody's telling me what I have to say. It's a little bit like the book really, except that I've written what I wanted to write, whereas on QVC I can say what I want so long as it's related to the products that we're looking at the time. I really enjoy my job. I've been there since day one, so it's coming up to 20 years, and I hope there's another few years in me. The most interesting celebrity I've ever interviewed? That's a very tricky question. I think one of the most entertaining, the person who kept me most on my toes is probably Joan Rivers, because you never knew what she was going to say next. So you had to listen very, very carefully to everything she said. There was a particular instance, and I do write about it in the book. I'd been fortunate enough to go out to the Bahamas with QVC to do some live broadcasts from the Atlantis resort out there. And one of the shows I was presenting was with Joan Rivers. And we got to about 4 minutes to 3 in the afternoon when we were going to be beaming the show back live. You can imagine the Bahamas, how hot it is. And nobody had thought to put any kind of shade over the area where we were going to be doing the show for 2 hours. So Joan Rivers came onto the set and she said, well, I can't sit in the sunshine for 2 hours. They had to drag across pagodas from the Atlantis resort and cut off the poles down the middle, strap them together and cut off the poles. This was with 30 seconds to go, and yet we still went live on time. It was amazing, and Joan was brilliant. She was a true professional. It didn't faze her at all. The book is exclusive to QVC, so you can go online at www.qvcuk.com and just look in the little search box at the top, put in 100 lengths of the pool, and it'll take you straight to where to order it.